But first, a story that no one's talking about is the massive pipeline that is nearly set to go online. Now, it starts in Nigeria. It flows through Niger on its way up into Europe. Chevron and the United States have already invested $13 billion into this pipeline. And guess what, guys? After the Nord Stream pipeline destruction, Chevron stepped up production to get this up and running. Hey, we'll speed this up. We'll fast track this.
NATO, ECOWAS, Russia face off. Biafra is the bone of contention. The main reason Simon Ekpa must be protected at all costs. When the liberation of African French colonies began about 2 to 3 years back with the Mali and Burkina Faso coup, then the kidnap of the great Biafran leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, many of us never imagined that something deeper than what made the eyes was playing out. While eyes appear to have been closed to those events on the surface, the strongest of international politics was playing out underground. The dirty politics of the West in order to subdue Russia and Russia's preparedness to confront the West in the ensuing background chessboard game battle led to the proxy war in Ukraine that has lasted till now. That war was instigated by the West in order to weigh the weapon restraint of Vladimir Putin and his Russia. But unknown to the West, Putin's Russia was more than prepared to meet them with a force beyond their combined NATO forces, especially after the failure of 8 years' negotiations with Ukraine that failed to consider the threat to Russia's sovereignty. That war actually began and is still on. But is that the real and main battle? No. Who have wondered why America keeps sustaining that war by continuous aid to Ukraine? Maybe that can keep Russia busy there while another drought game plays out at the main battleground. On this other side of the globe stands a people immensely blessed by the Most High Chukwuka Biama, a people who has been slaughtered in their millions for no just cause since 1967 till date. And what is the crime of these people? Their rich mineral resources. The Biafran people have suffered genocide upon genocide in the hands of criminal Britain, all because of our rich oil and other natural resources. This evil entity called Britain ensured the massacre of over 10 million Biafrans just because they had to bury pipes to siphon our oil for free from Biafraland to Europe. These British thieves ensures that northern and western Nigeria remains in power to help them in the continual plundering of Biafraland since after the Biafra-Nigeria Civil War in 1970. At the rise of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, they never anticipated that Biafra would fully awaken again until the formation of the Eastern Security Network, ESN. The ESN sent cold shivers and chills down the spines of the thieving Britain, and their only option was to kidnap Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, which they did successfully by buying all those who were supposed to be his close allies and have kept him locked up in the Zoo DSS dungeon since June 2021. At that historic kidnap of Onyendu Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, Britain felt it was just a matter of months and the burning fire of Biafra would die down again, because they never anticipated that after the capture of Uche Mefo and the expelled DOS criminals, there was any other plan left by Onyendu. God bless Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the man ordained for the Biafra liberation race. The keeping of Plan C, BRGIE, Prime Minister Simon Ekpa to himself remains a puzzle that the thieving Britain can never solve till eternity. This is the reason behind every persecution that Simon Ekpa has passed through in the hands of these international criminals. This is also the reason why many of us Biafrans, especially the IPOB autopilot family, will forever remain grateful to the Finnish government. This is because if you feel that the British government have not made their secret moves into Finland against Simon, then you must be a very huge joke. If you think that the only game playing out against Simon is the Nigerian zoo government and DOS rats, then you need to re-enter the womb and be born again. The underground politics of the West and Russia is not yielding the expected results for the West. They have to tame Russia by all means. So what's the game? Another huge thievery, Biafra's gas. It has been said that Americans' gas financial yield has multiplied by 4 times because of the Ukrainian proxy war, as the European countries now purchase Americans' gas at very exorbitant prices. So more gas means more money for America. Therefore, to tame Russia and her gas forever, all they need to do is to ensure 2 things. The war in Ukraine must continue, and a pipeline planted from Biafraland to the west for free gas supply to America and Britain, just the way they did to our oil. With that, Europe won't need Russia's gas anymore. Then, America and Britain will continue cashing out big on our gas while multiplying their genocide against our people. Mind you, this pipeline is already in construction and is said to have gulped an estimated $13 billion. Putin understands the game. While Russia needs to protect its economy from impending crash, Biafra needs to be a free nation. The game is on. The construction of the pipeline from Biafraland is on, with the continuous genocide, killing, slaughtering, and massacre of our people since 2021, especially at the Orlu zone of Imo State, where this gas is seated. An internationally sponsored secret war by America and Britain has been going on in the zone for over 2 years, and eyelids have refused to bait. They burned down the entire Izombe community. No one coughed. The politicians from Biafraland are all as useless and as worthless as they seem, because they feel they cannot confront what is playing out. So they queue in and are cashing out huge by joining in the persecution of the Biafran agitators, especially Simon Ekpa, our Prime Minister. As the battle for international supremacy continues, Vladimir Putin knows that this pipeline must not be laid to completion, and we support him fully as Biafrans. Hence, he had to advance to Africa to save things for himself. The coup in Niger holds a bitter hidden odds against these American and British interests, as it can be deducted that should Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad, and Niger become Russia allies, this pipeline protecting America and British interests must never cross these countries' domain, and that means it will go no further. But America and Britain need this pipeline buried by all means to knock out Russia. This is the reason for the whole face-off in Niger. Why the hints of France's involvement in Izombe, all for our gas, are there in the public domain, it is clear that the interest is not just France losing Niger, but the Biafra gas as well. The summary of all the brouhaha is that while America, Britain, and France want to continue plundering Biafra and Africa in order to remain world powers, Russia is saying that these countries cannot continue to be world powers by thievery of Africans' resources, Biafrans by extension. As they all continue to scamper around Niger without mention of the real bone of contention, the next few weeks or months ahead will make the picture clearer as the war ensues, because the vultures, America and Britain, will never give up without flexing muscles, but in this particular war they are pushing for in the name of ECOWAS, they will not only lose, they will crash. Our eyes are openly fixated on the ball. We have been at war in Biafraland, especially Orlu zone, since 2021, with their criminal forces in Nigeria uniform, and the Biafrans have met them force for force. It should now begin to make more meaning to you why the stage managed the attack on American Embassy staff convoy in Biafraland a few months back. The vultures seeking for a legal front to hook Simon Ekpa into Americans' open chase list. We resisted it completely. With each breaking day, the dirty international politics playing out gets more interesting here in our climes. They know their game. Someone wants to rule by all means. The West has found a puppet. They grab him by the groins to do their will and have his many sins forgiven. He must find a way, so he runs to the National Assembly, and the Northerners cry out, Nigerians are our brothers. Then he runs off to ECOWAS. Of course, it's a regional force which would be easily for NATO to infiltrate with their own mercenaries in the name of restoring democracy to Niger, and with that pipeline project would continue unhindered. Putin sees this game and thunders back that NATO's intervention in Niger Republic would meet with equal, if not higher, resistance. I need not talk about the readiness of other African nations to support Niger. What is our own? Our own is simply Biafra freedom, and why Onyendu Mazi Nnamdi Kanu remains incarcerated. The face of our liberation is Simon Ekpa. Trust him. He has already announced that Biafra would fight in favor of Niger. This does not definitely sound funny to those vultures. All the recent heightened shenanigans by Ejiofor and others is just the surface battle against the Biafra Republic government in exile Prime Minister. These clowns are never the real threat to him. The international gimmicks and games going on against him on several chess and drought boards in America and Britain is what we should be more concerned about. For this cause, he must be protected by all means too. The ignorant can never imagine the battle that Simon Ekpa is confronting right now. He needs every protection from Biafrans by whichever way. While we Biafrans will never forgive Britain, my advice to America is to quit that project and get into a real business bargain with Biafra in terms of gas. This is the only thing that will end the looming war in Niger. Africa is a very rich and blessed continent. We are also humans and must be treated as such. The West have plundered us enough. Russia is saying the West should stop looting Africa and come to a level playing ground where our resources would be used to develop our continent. We are also sounding same tone with Russia. Enough of the plundering, enough of the theft, enough of the unending slavery. Freedom is all we ask. Free Africa, free Biafra now. Nkem Divine Sunshine for BWOC, the Biafran Writers of Conscience.
But first, a story that no one's talking about is the massive pipeline that is nearly set to go online. Now, it starts in Nigeria. It flows through Niger on its way up into Europe. Chevron and the United States have already invested $13 billion into this pipeline. And guess what, guys? After the Nord Stream pipeline destruction, Chevron stepped up production to get this up and running. Hey, we'll speed this up. We'll fast track this. And now the people of Niger are saying, wait a second. Why are we going to allow a pipeline to flow right through our country so Europe can have natural gas? You are doing nothing for us. You continue to steal from us. Sorry, no more pipeline. This is why Europe is terrified this morning. The United States already blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, put their own pipeline into action in Africa. It's a smart business move, right? We'll just blow up the competition. Imagine Walmart doing that to Target stores. Yeah, we're just going to blow up those stores. Now you got to shop at Walmart. And now Niger is saying, hey, sorry, you're not going to use our country to transport your natural gas into Europe. Get out of here. So Europe is facing catastrophe with no Nord Stream pipeline coming from Russia any longer. And now the threat of this pipeline being shut down through Africa. This was their salvation, this pipeline. And then add into it uranium and Europe's nuclear power. The United States gets over 50% of its uranium from Russia, despite all of the sanctions that the United States has placed against Russia. They left uranium off the list. I love this. I love that they chose to sanction every other thing, but they left uranium off the list because we need it so badly. We need it desperately. Why? The United States is so heavily dependent on Russia for uranium that Putin could literally flip a switch, literally destroy the American economy by turning off the lights. A major backup resource of uranium is Niger. The French, the United States, have been essentially stealing uranium from African countries for decades. And again, these countries are saying enough is enough. We are sovereign countries. Get out of here. We are going to keep our own minerals and make our own decisions. And Russia is giving them that option right now. We want you to keep your sovereignty. We want you to be an independent country, not a slave to the West. Listen to Africa Bureau Chief Musa Ibrahim explain how the people of Africa want to gain back their wealth, their minerals, stop giving it away to America and Europe.
What people want is to gain back their wealth, back their uranium, their gold, their iron, their phosphate, their oil, their gas. And this scares the West because this means the true democracy will take place in Africa when people actually own their own land and the wealth of Africa does not go untaxed unsupervised from the mines in Niger to the banks of Paris and the financial sector in Britain.
And he's right. Niger's coup isn't happening in a vacuum. This isn't a singular event. They're now pushing back against this neo-colonialism in a larger multipolar world, saying this unipolar order that America has ruled for many, many years, seeking to keep your boot on the people of Africa, is not going to stand anymore. Africans are seeking to regain their national sovereignty. Africa saying, hey, we are rich in uranium, but we don't get to benefit from any of it because you steal it from us. We will enrich our own uranium and we will sell it to you and you'll pay us for it. No more theft. Africa is in the middle of a revolution right now. Take a look at this map just published on Friday. These are all of the African nations that have now signed military agreements with Russia. And even a few of those in white are getting ready to partner with Russia as well. Damn, that's a lot of red. Now, we'll come back to that map in a moment. But first, this weekend, we saw dramatic developments. Russian flags raised in the air throughout the continent. First to Niger, the country that started it all. Russian flags everywhere. And according to France 24 news service, the government of Niger has now signed a contract with the Russian Wagner Group for security. And they need it because the coup in Niger has entered the point of no return right now. The people rising up against France, against the United States' influence in that country. The Western powers that have controlled Niger for decades are now being pushed out. And this weekend, the military leaders now say that Niger will no longer be a European colony. And they've demanded that all French soldiers get out now, get out of here, or face the consequences. Why does the United States even have troops in this country in the first place? Well, that's a great question. So get out of here, France, and get out of here, United States. You don't belong here. Over the past few days, the United States started dropping massive amounts of military cargo right near the Niger border with its warplanes. But that threat is not stopping the people of Niger. Tens of thousands of people marching in that country this weekend, celebrating their independence and shouting no to foreign military bases, no to poverty, no to the West stealing their uranium, their phosphate, and other minerals. Get out of here now. All of the ambassadors' offices to the Niger Republic Mission Service, the United States, France, Nigeria, and Togo have all been terminated. All of their offices are now officially shut down by the Niger government. The head of the military just made this announcement. So other African nations are now showing their support for Niger and starting to say the very same thing. Get out of our country. This weekend, the people in Senegal rising up against Western colonial governments controlling their country. The CIA, MI6, and other Western intelligence services are doing whatever they can right now, spinning their wheels, trying to hold on to power in these countries with their puppet governments. The people in West Africa are fiercely anti-American imperialism. So it wasn't a surprise then to see the country of Guinea announce they are supporting Niger as well.
La République de Guinée réaffirme par ce communiqué sa vision panafricaniste en apportant sa solidarité à la population nigérienne.
This is massive, and Colonel Douglas McGregor says the people who've had their minerals stolen for years are saying enough is enough. Get out of my country.
The Africans are fed up with it. And so this is an example in Niger where a supposedly U.S.-backed government with a U.S.-trained military suddenly turned around and said, I think all of you white people need to get out of here. We've had it with you. Go away. Go, Europeans, leave.